All right, so what I'm going to do is, instead of me pointing to Errol Spence, instead of me pointing to Terrance Crawford, instead of me pointing to this fighter and that fighter, I have to make an example. So my example I'm going to make is the fighter that I love and is a big fan of, and that's Manny Pacquiao. And you say, what? Yeah, I got to use the example Manny Pacquiao. So where they're Vada testing for Errol Spence and Manny Pacquiao. And I said, no, there isn't no testing for Manny Pacquiao and Errol Spence. There's no testing. Well, you say, well, what are you talking about? No, what I mean is no Vada testing. But wait a minute. I saw Manny Pacquiao showing proof that he took the Vada test with Errol Spence when he's supposed to fight Errol Spence. So I said, wait a minute. I'm looking at it, but do I believe it? Okay, so let me give you an example. He did take the test for Vada, but at the same time, he didn't. Let's look at the video of Manny Pacquiao, okay? Proving to everybody that he took his Vada test, which I was pro for until I did my research, because this shit, it changes. I did my research, and I said, wait a minute. Let's go to the video.
The champ's having twins. Having twins.
Negative po.
Negative, baby.
There you go.
Bye! Bye!
Okay, saka po picture. Sugal na po picture. Kala po. Tingin po dito. Salamat po. Yan, ano? Ano? Saan po yan?
Drug testing.
Saan po sa drug testing po ng Vada?
Yeah, Vada.
Sa Vada po. Ngayon lang po kayo tinest ulit din.
Yeah.
Monday, urine. Ayun, urine.
Monday.
Monday, urine in my blood.
At ito po ngayon, negative sa COVID. Salamat po, Senator.
Hi. Thank you.
Thank you po.
That is good.
Very good, good. Salamat po.
All right, so Manny Pacquiao, you see that he has this little proof that he took Vada and it's negative. He got it in his hand. He gets in the car. You see where he took they took his blood. He had a Band-Aid with a thing on it, right? So I'm looking at it, and I'm saying to the average person, yeah, he did Vada. He did Vada, but did he do Vada? Well, it's a great part to this. So I will show you proof on that. That in my eyes, when I see that, now I can look at it and say, no, he didn't do Vada. He did parts of Vada, but he didn't do the full 8 weeks of Vada. He did it under the clean boxing program, but they do things differently, and they send their labs, they send their specimens to a different lab. If Manny Pacquiao had did Vada takes their test to WADA. They're their labs that do their tests. So when I see Manny Pacquiao, now, am I bashing Manny Pacquiao? No, because at the same time, see, Manny Pacquiao is a little bit different than some of these boxers. He did Vada under certain other situations, and he's on the official Vada website, and he been doing Vada a certain way. Now that he comes over here to the PBC with the clean boxer and he's fighting for the WBC belt, they have a different way of doing things. So yes, it's 8 weeks prior to the fight. That's officially Vada, and they take their specimens to WADA. And then you also got the clean boxing program that also involves Vada, administrating the blood test, administrating the unit, taking samples of blood, taking samples of urine. Also, yeah, not just after, before. And I'm trying to explain to you how this works. And you say, well, I heard videos that you said he did. Well, listen, if the clean boxing program wants to do blood tests, they could do that before. Yeah, they could do it 3 or 4 or 5 times. Remember what Charles said? Man, they're taking blood and coming early in the morning. I got to hold my piss. I got answers to all that. But that'll be in the second video. But I'm just saying, if the clean boxing program wants to do blood testing and urine testing 3 or 4 or maybe 5 times before the fight, and then they do a post-fight, and they do urine samples. So it doesn't matter if it's urine or blood or both before the fight, right? This is the great part. So they do blood testing maybe twice with urine samples, or maybe 3 times. Let me give them the best 4 times. But can I give you this example? Is it Vada? Because it's not the full 8 weeks. See, the full 8 weeks prior to once you announce the fight, the real Vada starts testing. And they don't test just once, they could test twice in a day. And they do random drug testing with blood and urine for 8 weeks prior to the test. So if Clean Boxing Program is doing testing a week before the fight, or maybe 2 weeks before the fight, even if they're taking blood and urine, it's still not the Vada 8 weeks prior to the test. So you see, even though if you see it, you can't believe it. That's the way I see it. So I had to do my research. All right. So now, after I showed you, and I used my fighter as an example, right? Now let me knock out 2 narratives with 1 stone. Let's start with the Fanon. Fanon said that it was a letter out there stating from Vada that Errol Spence and Ugas did the Vada test. Now, is that true? Yes and a no. And I'm going to show you just how Manny Pacquiao is a no-no with the Errol Spence. And another thing is that's so funny. Yeah, Vada was doing testing in the Errol Spence fight, coming and taking the blood and the urine and everything, right? But when they changed fighters on Manny Pacquiao, and Manny Pacquiao got a 2-week notice that he got a different fighter, and that was Ugas. Was Ugas at that time ever on Vada? Okay, who knows if he knew what the plan was, that there was going to be a change of a situation. Once Errol Spence had problems with the eye, who knows if Ugas knew a heads up that, listen, you might be end up fighting, we're going to have to get a replacement. Before even Manny Pacquiao camp knew, right? So was Ugas on Vada at the time, or any kind of, maybe did he just do post, right? So there's a lot to say. It's not speculation. And even if it is, it doesn't matter. It's not a fact. It's just an opinion and a suspicion and a speculation. But it's not a fact for me to argue with. But I'm here to prove it. So I'm going to knock out 2 narratives. I'm going to knock out this letter that Fanon keeps talking about, right? And then I'm going to talk about some of the things that Blue Bloods say about the Clean Boxing Program and how there's loopholes. See, brothers in the hood know about loopholes. We all know about loopholes. There's a black and there's a white, but there's a loophole in the middle that we always get away with certain shit. Everybody look for loopholes to get around shit. And if there's loopholes, then it's not what you think it is. Yes, when it comes to your fighter and you need a backup plan to talk about your narrative, yes, it sounds so easy and so sweet to the ear, but there's loopholes in that, blood. So let's get into it with these narratives after I show you proof about my fighter and how I felt about him not being on Vada, but they claim that he's on Vada. Watch me now.
Letter goes, please be advised that Mr. Errol Spence and Mr. Yordanis Ugas have entered the Voluntary Anti-Doping Association, VADA, program. They will be subject to random, unannounced testing through April 16th, 2022. We will keep the Texas Competitive Sports Program, TGB, Heyman Boxing, the WBC, IBF, WBA, and the ABC apprised of all results of both A and B samples. Do not hesitate to contact me or VADA's chief legal counsel, Ryan Conley, and give his email there if you have any questions or concerns. Now, what does that mean? It means without a doubt that Errol Spence Jr. and Yordanis Ugas were involved in VADA testing. And it also gives the name of the person that you can contact to find out whether or not somebody is actually signed up. Now, who would that be? It would not be their website. It would be, according to this letter, their chief legal counsel, Ryan Conley. all of this conversation about whether or not Errol Spence Jr. was on testing for performance-enhancing drugs or not was nothing but a bunch of drama. And to boot, we also have a letter, just so that you know, also saying that Errol Spence Jr. was actually being tested before that, because it says back in June of 2021, June 10th, 2021, it says, please be advised, there's another letter that's released. This came from Keith Idika Boxing Scene. Please be advised, Emmanuel Pacquiao and Errol Spence Jr. have entered the voluntary anti-doping agency, and the note says exactly the same thing. So Errol was involved in Vada, was signed up for Vada testing for the Manny Pacquiao fight that was going to take place in was supposed to take place in August 21st, because I do believe that was the date that was supposed to take place, August 21st. That's what the date said. They'll be subject to random unannounced testing through August 21st. That's the day of the fight. And this next fight, so he had been under Vada testing for a considerable amount of time, not just this fight for the first one, but the last one as well. So all of that talk that people have about, Errol's not testing, he's on, all that stuff is absolutely out of there, because they have released letters specifically laying out that this man had been tested. So hopefully this will put all of that to rest. Anyway.
All right, so this is Vada. This is official website. Okay, so Fanon was talking about Mr. Ryan Conley. Well, let's see what Ryan Conley plays at Vada in his position. He's the Chief Legal Counsel Client Relations. All right, that's all he is. Well, let's figure out what that means. What do Chief Legal Counsels do? The Chief Legal Officer is the head of the corporate legal department and is responsible for legal affairs of the entire corporation. This role includes providing legal counsel to the board of directors, chairman of the board, chief executive officer, and the other senior management. This is who he's talking about, that send an email to Al Heyman, ABC, all these chief, all these people that he sent a letter saying that Errol Spence did Vada testing. Okay, so let me get back to me telling you and explaining what Ryan Conley is. All right, and is that a big deal? Is that a big deal that he wrote a letter saying the truth, that he did Vada tested, that Vada administrated the test? All right, well, let's talk. So Ryan Conley, he is he supports legal counseling to Vada, right? That's his purpose. He is not Margaret Goodman, the CEO, the president of Vada. That email didn't come from Margaret Goodman. It came from the chief counselor, okay? The legal department. Whoopie-doo, right? So there is a situation where, okay, WBC is affiliated with Vada. But in that co-contract, it says, yes, you could administrate. That means take blood, take urine. But at the end of the day, it's not the official Vada. It's not the official Vada, because official Vada does 8 weeks prior to the test, and it goes to what lab? Vada lab. Okay, that's how it goes. Now, with the clean boxing program, they can take it to any lab they want to, right? They can take it to the Nevada State Commission, Athletic Commission. They can take it to any lab they want. They can also let you know if the person passed or failed. So when you go in a clean boxing program and you see certain fighters that passed, sometimes you don't see certain fighters that didn't pass. Doesn't mean they didn't pass, but you don't see them on a clean boxing program. So Vada administrated, but that doesn't mean. So Ryan Conley, he is telling the truth. Listen, he's illegal. They know that if I'm telling you the truth, well, I'm telling you the truth, but I ain't telling you the whole truth. I ain't giving you the details. So we're going to debunk that situation, and I will show you. Matter of fact, let me show you something from the Vada website. And we all know, it's directly from Vada, even if it's on Twitter, wherever it is. That logo on the side of the corner of whatever they write, it says Vada. It's not an email from anybody from their corporation. There's not a separate letter. When Vada is doing testing, because you go to Twitter, you will see, you say congratulations, and and thank you, successfully you finish the test. That's it. It's not going to reveal anything that they pass or fail, especially if you're under the co-promotion with the clean boxing program. That's their problem. That's their due to notify the public. Okay? So you can see that. Now, like I said, Manny Pacquiao, he did Vada here, and he did Vada there. Just because he had to go to the PBC and fight Keith Thurman and Adrian Broner, right? And Errol Spence and Ugas, they do things differently. And they're affiliated with the clean boxing program with Maurice Suleiman when you fight for the WBC. But Manny Pacquiao, not all the time fighting for the WBC. He was a WBO. He done Vada differently. And he also did it under the clean boxing program. So let me show you some websites. Let me show you some clips of what Vada said so you can understand this, right? Very easy. Let's go to Vada website, right? So this is the Vada website. This is what you're looking at. The first person you see is this Triple G. Now we go to a menu. We're going to go to About Vada. Let's pick About Vada. So I'm going to zoom it up as close as I can. But, you know, it gets into this martial arts, MMA, boxing. But I'm trying to show you an example here. You can always go to it and read the whole thing. Okay, so this paragraph here says professional athletes will volunteer to be subject to unannounced testing at any time during the 8-week prior. Do you understand this? This is what Vada's saying. Testing at any time during the 8 weeks prior to the scheduled fight. As in the Olympic program, an agreement to participate will require fighters to officially inform us of their daily whereabouts. See what it's saying? Right? So that they can be tested per the program. Athletes will agree that all results are immediately released to the appropriate adjudicating commission overseeing their upcoming contest. Vada has arranged for a World Anti-Doping Agency approved laboratory to conduct the tests and internationally recognized anti-doping group to collect the specimens, just in case you're in another country. They collect it, right? And maintain chain of custody. So this is, go to the Vada website. You can read the rest, but this is the main paragraph right here that says they do 8 weeks. This is plain and simple. There's no shortcuts, okay? There's no co-promotion with clean boxing program. This is what they do. 8 weeks prior to the fight, and they also send their labs to only one lab, and that lab is what? The World Anti-Doping Agency. Upcoming contest. So that's where the doping agency approved laboratory to conduct the test. It's the WADA, right? When you under Vada original drug testing for 8 weeks. All right, so now let's look at this right here. This is the official Vada. It's a tweet, I think. But it says Vada, and you know it's Vada because at the side it will say Vada / official tweet or whatever it is. Fighters, and this is what he's telling the fighters, not every PED testing panel is the same. Not every lab is the same. Not every doping control company has the same experience. Ask question, unspecified drug testing in a contract does not mean the best of most thorough. There you go. You see what it says right here? Unspecified drug testing in a contract doesn't mean the best and most thorough. Let's talk about it. So I'm showing you reasonable doubt about what Fanan's saying about Ryan Codley. He's the chief for legal affairs for the corporation of Vada. But there's reasonable doubt because that's not Margaret Goodman, the CEO president, right? So you telling me somebody within the corporation, especially legal affairs, of course he's going to write a letter saying that Errol Spence is doing Vada testing. It's true. Well, it's half true. It's nothing but the truth, but it's not the whole truth. So help me God. So when I show you reasonable doubt, the man he deals with legal affairs. So if he says a statement, Errol Spence, he did Vada testing for Manny Pacquiao. That's true. He did Vada testing for Ugas. He did this, he did that. Yeah. It's half true because remember, I told you, the legitimacy of Vada and the authenticity, I'm sorry, I can't say the word, but they stand behind their product. And their product is 8 weeks prior to the test, and we take our samples to WADA. That's what they stand for. So when they don't do emails and all this shit, they don't do that. If you see it on Twitter or you see it on their homepage, congratulations, or you successfully did Vada, and they tell you the names, who did it, who didn't do it, that's Vada. And if they have a statement, you see on the side, the Vada stamp. Vada, this is what we said. This is who successfully entered the Vada program. Hey, how you doing? All right. Who did the Vada program? Okay. So now you go to Clean Boxing Program. That's a whole different list of fighters who successfully did Vada. And I always say, if it's not 8 weeks, then it ain't Vada. If it ain't going to WADA Labs, it ain't Vada. You see what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, I had to use my boxer, Manny Pacquiao, to make a point. And I'm going to explain this, I'm going to explain this later in the video real quick. But let's go to Blue Blood right now. And why I had to use my fighter, Manny Pacquiao, I'll explain that at the end. Okay? But right now, let me knock this other bird out with one stone about the whereabouts, with Vada and this and that and how much testing they got to do. And I'm going to debunk that shit also. And that doesn't work all the time. And testing is not done with the Clean Boxing Program all the time because of this, right? Money. All right. So let's go on to Blue Blood. Yo, Blue Blood, run the track and let's explain this situation that you're trying to push. Okay. That's all. Come on, let's go.
So these sanction bodies that the athletes, these professional boxers have to pay their fees and taxes to the sanction bodies. Well, it should be up to the sanction bodies and the commissions in the four corners. It should be the California State Commission, the Las Vegas State Commission, New York State Commission, and whichever other state commission that you so choose to put in that. But it should be for the commissions, right? Most of the big fights happen in New York. Most of the big fights happen in Vegas. Most of the big fights happen in California. And the other ones are pretty scattered. But it should be up to those commissions, at least those three, and the four major sanction belts to be able to fit the bill for these athletes to be tested year round without it coming out their pocket.
Now, Blue Blood, I totally agree with you. But do you have a solution? Because I do agree with you. And also, Michael Montero, that I got some of my research from, also agree with you. And he has a solution. So let's check out what he says about how the sanction bodies should do this for the fighters. All right? So we can agree on something here.
So when it comes to drug testing, there's a lot of you guys out there that say, well, who gives a shit if these guys are juicing? Who cares? They're all juicing anyway. Well, no, they're not, number one. Number two, this ain't basketball. This ain't baseball. This ain't football. I'm talking soccer football, right? This is serious shit, man. People die in this sport. So this stuff, it matters. I will say this. I've been asked a million times, how can we improve the WBC Clean Boxing Program? Well, for starters, stop testing the top 15 ranked fighters in each division. Right now, you can't afford it. You know who I would test right now? Champions. That's who I would test. That's it. Champions. There's 18 champions with the WBC. If you include all their interim titles and whatever, and then the female champions, maybe you're dealing with 50 athletes. 50 as opposed to 350. That's who I would be testing. If you have a WBC title, you're in the Clean Boxing Program, right? The truth of the matter is, guys, I'm going to go back to this calculator one more time. I just want to do a little more math with you guys. If each test costs $500, and again, we're being generous here, and we are saying that there's, 350 fighters in the current program? That if you tested everybody once, that's your budget, right? 175 grand, but you should really be testing them once a week, at least. We'll give them 2 weeks off, so we'll say 50. Now your budget is almost $9 million. $8.75 million. And that's just to test everybody in the clean boxing program once a week. The reality is you should be testing them a couple times a week. But that's your budget, almost $9 million. Just to put in perspective what we really need to be doing this the right way. If you change that to just the champions, maybe it's about 50 fighters a year. They could limit that number if they stop giving out so many fucking interim, whatever belts, diamond belts, and just do one champ per division. But since they're not going to do that, 50 fighters, okay? Then you test them. I'll go back to the calculator. I lied. But you know what? I don't have to show you guys. I'll just do the math real quick because you guys are sick of watching me type. So 50 fighters times, I said what, $500 per test? Times one test a week. Now your budget's $1.25 million. Much more workable budget, right? So I think if you change the WBC clean boxing program to just test champions, that would be huge. That would be a great place to start. All right, also another thing, to raise funds. How about 1% of the purse for every WBC title bout goes into the pot for this program? Fighters are already paying sanctioning fees, right? What's 1% more, especially if it's going toward this? So to give you guys an example, Wilder and Fury are about to get what, $50 million or $40 million? Let's say $50 million. I don't think it's quite that much, but let's just say $50 million bucks. 1% of that is what, $500,000? $500,000, yeah, right? 500,000, yeah. So right there you go. That one fight, 1% of that fight purse is what, four times the annual budget of the clean boxing program already. So if you took 1% of the sanctioning fees, 1% of the purse of every single WBC title fight, and you put that into the pot, there's your budget. You don't need sponsorships. You don't need anything else. That's it. 1%. The fighters will chip in 1%. And maybe under a certain amount, you know, if it's under $100,000, you don't do it. But any title fight over $100,000, 1%, boom, there's your budget. Those two things, only testing champions, 1% of fight purses budgeting the program, boom, fixes not everything, but it's a vast improvement.
He was talking about the budget of the clean boxing program. And I know I do a clip here, but the clip he was talking about, like, he was just giving the example of how much the budget is and they cap, right? And instead of, you know, just everybody in the clean boxing program, you're doing testing, just do it for the champions, right? And he's saying you could use 1%. If that fight's over $100,000, like he said, then you could do these kind of certain things and you don't have to get sponsors and all that stuff like that, right? So, okay, I'm just showing that we could agree on something, Blue. You know what I'm saying? You're right. The sanction body, the clean boxing program, the WBC, they should be doing this for the fighters. They should be having health insurance. They should be doing this and that. But we agree on something. So let's talk about something that we're not going to agree. When you try to talk about whereabouts with the clean boxing program and how much is that? So let's go to what Blue's saying here. All right, come on.
To there being a clean boxing program so the athletes can be tested 365 days, 24/7, and it is no option. Then we don't have this problem. If you want to be a professional boxer and you register to be licensed as a professional boxer, you also are registering to be in the clean boxing program year round, and they could knock on your door at any given time and test you just like in the NFL, in the NBA, or any other major sports on a large scale. They could show up to your gym, and then you have, if they show up to your house, right? Because, you know, you're not a prisoner to your home. So if they show up to your house and you happen to be on vacation, then you have 72 hours to respond to them because they have programs and they have places everywhere. And there's a way for them to get the testings done everywhere. So therefore, right, you have 72 hours to respond to them to let them know, listen, I'm on vacation. I'm in Dubai with my family, and you showed up to my house in New York or Florida or Miami or Texas or wherever you so choose to reside in Los Angeles, but I'm in Dubai. Okay, so I'm not able to respond. We clean things up.
Because this is something that a lot of you probably haven't seen. This is an actual athlete whereabouts form. Trent says Red Herring article was awesome. Thank you, Trent. I appreciate that, brother. So this form, everybody that's registered to do Vada testing, whether you're in clean boxing program or you've signed up to do Vada, the full program for your fight. But I'll get to the specifics on that in a minute. But you have to fill out this form, okay? So if you're in a clean boxing program, and let's use Nyambar as an example. And I only use him as an example because he's a guy that lives outside the U.S. In no way am I suggesting anything, okay, with him. I'm just saying, if somebody from Mongolia, and I'm not picking on people from Mongolia, okay, I'm just using this as an example. If that's your residence and you have that on this form, and a sample collector wants to come and get a sample from you, maybe you're not in Mongolia. Maybe you've already went to Vegas to start training. You need a few extra days to half-life off of something. So when an official calls you, hey, we want to come to Mongolia Tuesday and collect a sample, we have your address here, is this still current? Oh, sorry, I'm already heading to Vegas. Here's the new address where I'm going to be for this camp. Oh, well, the address, or you can change the gym location, right? Maybe the form on the whereabouts form, it's the last gym that you trained at. But now, I'm with the strength and conditioning coach now. So a sample collector might go to a different gym. They might go to a different city than you're even in. So there's ways to give yourself a little more time. But, I forgot to send in that whereabouts form. Here you go. So sorry. I know you guys have my whereabouts form on file. I just forgot to give you this new one. We changed gyms. We were training at this boxing gym. Now I'm training with the strength and conditioning coach for a few weeks before I go back to the boxing gym. You see what I'm saying here, guys? There's ways to give yourself a buffer, whether it's a few hours, maybe even a few days, depending on the situation with these forms. Also, by filling this part out here, this 60-minute window of availability, you're essentially, what hour they're going to show up. Right? So if you know that between 10 and 11 p.m., that's when a person might come in to get a sample from you, you take precautions. And there's ways you can do math, elementary level math, to make sure you're going to be okay for when that sample's collected. But if you're a fighter in the clean boxing program, maybe once a year, they're coming around and taking a couple samples as you train for a fight, because you have a fight coming up. If you're out of competition, they ain't coming around. They're not sending officials. They have $13,000 a month. Think of how much it would cost to send somebody from a lab in Europe to Kazakhstan to collect a urine sample and to ship that urine sample back to the lab. That's probably almost your $13,000 budget for the month. You think they're going to do that for someone who's out of competition? Fuck no. So I don't want to say the clean boxing program is a joke. Oh, by the way, this is the second page of the form where you can put exceptions to your regular schedule. So if you do have something going on, hey, these are other places, I go pick up my daughter from soccer practice, you put that here on the second page, okay? So that's, a lot of you guys haven't seen that form before, I wanted to show it to you. But there's a million ways, if you start just thinking about this, you can be creative and you can get around this program. So while I give the WBC credit, okay, I give them credit for doing the program, for spending some money, it's grossly underfunded. I talked to Margaret Goodman as part of that piece. I'm just looking at some notes here on my other screen. And I talked to her, I think it was last year for that piece. It might have been 2 years ago. For that piece I did for Ring. And she said that the budget needs to be at least $1 million. Right now it's $150. It needs to be at least $1 million. So, put that in perspective, guys. So if somebody's in the WBC clean boxing program, it doesn't necessarily mean they're a clean fighter. And there's so many ways to get around the testing there and give yourself ample time. You're not going to get a blood test because they can't afford it. You're not going to be tested out of competition. They can't afford it. So if you have a fight coming up, make sure you're half-lifing the right way and you're diluting the fuck out of your urine. That's all you really got to do. And you can get by the WBC's clean boxing program. That's it. It's not that hard. It's really not that hard.
Look at all this bird seeds here for these birds, man. Yeah, so what I was saying is that, I'm telling you, once I put these bird seeds out, it's a wrap. These birds are going to suck up these seeds in a day or two. This whole full thing right here, shit. Oh, man. Of course, the money for giving birds bird seeds and shit, you know what I'm saying? Where you at? Yeah. There you go. Hey, go hang. Hang there. All right. Talk that shit. Yeah, so what I'm trying to tell you is that there's loopholes in everything. Even Vada got to deal with whereabouts and shit and figuring out where fighters are and shit like that. So imagine a clean boxing program. And can they afford to pay for out-of-competition testing and knowing your whereabouts? So actually, the top 15 fighters, are they getting tested 365 days, 24 hours from the clean boxing program? No, they're not. They're not. So that whereabouts thing that you're talking about, Blue, it sounds all good and everything, but there's a loophole in that too. I'm trying to tell you, and I'm trying to explain to you that Vada, 8 weeks prior, And then after post fight, it's great. Now, can the clean boxing program do 3, 4, or 5 testing with blood and urine? Yeah, they could do that. They could do 3 weeks if they want, but it's not 8 weeks like Vada, and it's not Vada and where they use their labs at to send their specimens to that lab to get tested, and that's WADA. Okay, clean boxing program is not necessarily taking it to WADA. Okay, that's a co-contract between VADA and the clean boxing program. And with that contract, the stipulations, okay, WADA alone is different. And I had to use, let me explain something to you. I had to use Manny Pacquiao. I had to use Manny Pacquiao because at the end of the day, you see Michael Montero, right? As I'm using Spence, his examples, because he gives you good PED knowledge, the sweet science of the PEDs. And not everybody's doing it and don't understand it. So the last video I showed Michael Montero, right? And he was giving examples of fighters like Eric Morales and Danny Garcia. And he gave an example of Mayweather and Pacquiao. But see what happens when you do that, right? You have to use examples, but they're facts. But see, people, when you say Mayweather, oh, you're talking about Mayweather, you hating on Mayweather. But the acts that he did in the past were facts. It was a fact that he took a saline, vitamins and minerals, and the USADA, not Vada, USADA, found evidence of that in his arm when they looked at his arm at his household. He broke one rule. No intravenous needles in your arm. That's 1. You're doing it at your home. That's 2. You broke WADA and USADA rules already. That's 3. And you got a TUE for it, exemption for it, right? And then you got Eric Morales. Now, if you're an Eric Morales fan, you pissed off that this man is talking about Eric Morales just as he's talking about Mayweather. So you have this bias towards him because you say, oh, you hating on the dude. But if the facts are the facts, the facts are the facts. So I said, okay, you know what? So if you're going to get mad at Eric Morales, or you're going to get mad at Michael Montero telling you that he got TUE exemptions time and time again, Eric Morales, when it came to that Danny Garcia fight. And for some reason, USADA, when you give them upfront money, for some reason, people get TUEs. All right? So this is about the sweet science. It's not about, oh, you hating on Mayweather. Listen, no one's hating on him. If the facts are facts, if you go back and you looked at, you could see some of your channels talking about him taking an IV in his arm and diluting, and that could be a mask agent, but he's saying that he was dehydrated. Well, that's what he said. But he broke a lot of rules. He broke a lot of rules with USADA and WADA doing that in his own household. So let's not stop the bullshit. But see, this is what I learned because I saw people commenting saying, oh, well, Michael Montero is a hater and he's hating on Floyd. So I said, you know what? Let me use my fighter. Let me kick up dirt on my fighter that I like and explain to you that this is not about the fighters. It's about the way they's getting tested and that loophole. There's a loophole in everything. So yes, the lawyer could say, yes, Errol Spence and Manny Pacquiao and Errol Spence and Ugas, oh yeah, they doing testing. That's not Margaret Goodman. That's not the Vada. That's an email. That's all that is. That's covering your ass and also saying a half truth. Hey, the man is not lying. I'm not saying the man is lying. Am I saying the man lying? No, I'm not saying the man is lying. So that's my thing. Stop worrying about the boxes. Worry about the foundation. You got the WBA. You got the sanctioned bodies. You got WBA with the WBC. You got the advisor. You got the promoters. Okay, Vada's there. Yes, Vada's there. It's there with different sanctioned bodies. There's there, and it's always voluntary. It's voluntary. Remember that. Okay, so in my next video, I'm gonna end this discussion on Vada. But I'm going to put a lot of details in it and explain to you. Okay, this one was here to debunk what Fanon and Blue Blood talking about and also agreeing with Blue Blood. Okay, because I do believe in certain things he said. I don't hate him, right? When he say things right, I back it up with what he's saying right. So this ain't no get tit for tat. That's not what's going on here. It's about, You love boxing? You want details? You want to know the ins and outs? Well, you just have to have a different perspective. Not just say that Errol Spence is on Vada, because yeah, everybody could be doing Vada, but who's Vada under? Who Vada has a co-contract with? That's the difference. Okay? So here, I'm just saying, like, subscribe, and share. And I'm gonna do another video, because the way I see it, this is going to, my next video, you're going to see some discrepancies about fighters that's doing the 8 weeks and fighters that's doing the WBC clean boxing program. And they're going to be like, yo, there's some problems. And I'm going to show you some examples of some fighters that have some problems with this. And they want it this way, but WBC want it that way. If you're fighting for their title. All right, like, share, and subscribe. See that? That's full, right? That's full. By tonight, well, it's half. By tomorrow, that should be gone. Little birds, man. It's not even big birds. Squirrels, they wait till the little birds drop it on the floor and shit, then they eat it up. Look, like, share, subscribe. Stay tuned for my next video. And look, if anybody got a problem, of me bringing this up, because I see I'm the only one bringing this up. My dude. Y'all going back and forth about what Errol and Crawford said. Look, I already see Crawford and Errol. They tweeting and they bringing shit up about after the fight, I'll have a drink after I beat your ass and this. I already seeing all that shit. That gives you ammunition to go back and forth to talk that shit. Fine. But I'm looking at the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is when Crawford signs that contract, what side is he going to be on? He's going to be on the side of Vada, or he's going to be on the side of WBC because he's fighting for that WBC. And there's going to be a discretion, because in the very beginning of the next video, I'm going to show you a couple of fights where fighters have a problem with the WBC and Vada, and which one they want their opponent to pick and be under. All right, I'm out. To the next one. Share, like, and subscribe. I'm not here to change your mind. I'm giving you lines to read. That's it. Bam.